The wind screamed across the frozen wasteland. Broken towers of metal rose like the bones of a dead giant, covered in snow and ice. Once this place had been a human colony. Now it was a graveyard. A woman walked slowly through the storm. Her clothes were thin, patched with old cloth and wires. She held a small bundle close to her chest, a child. The little girl's lips were blue, her eyes half closed. Her small body shook, not from life, but from the fight against death. The mother pressed the child tighter. "Stay with me, little star." "Stay awake," she whispered, but the girl was too weak to answer. They had not eaten in 2 days. The last packet of food had been shared between them, but the child had pushed most of it back, refusing to eat unless her mother did. The mother had forced her to swallow it. Still, it was not enough. The cold ate at her daughter's strength. The mother knew one thing. If she did nothing, her daughter would not see the morning. Far ahead, through the storm, a faint glow appeared. It was not human light. It was the alien outpost, the only place in this frozen land where food could be found. The place no human wanted to enter, but many had been forced to. The woman stopped, her legs shaking. She knew what it meant. The aliens did not give food freely. They traded. They laughed at humans who begged. They asked for things worse than death. But she looked down at her child shivering in her arms, and she made her choice. Her life no longer mattered. The child's life did. The alien outpost stood like a black fortress, its walls alive with strange glowing veins. Creatures of different shapes moved inside, scales, fur, shining metal skins. Languages mixed in the air, but one sound was always the same, the cruel laughter of those who owned food while others starved. The mother stepped through the gates. Heads turned, eyes stared, whispers began. A human. Another beggar. Look at her, thin as bone. She kept her eyes down, holding her child close. She could feel the heat inside the outpost, a burning difference from the icy storm outside. It made her daughter stir, coughing weakly. She approached the market stalls. Strange fruits, glowing meat, steaming bread, so close she could smell them. Her stomach twisted in pain, but she did not reach for any of it. She knew better. Behind the biggest stall sat a merchant. His skin was gray and smooth, his eyes black like pools of oil. His mouth stretched wide when he saw her. "A human female," he hissed, carrying a dying whelp. "What do you want?" The mother's voice shook, but she spoke clearly. "Food, please." The merchant leaned forward, his black eyes reflecting her thin face. "And what will you pay? Humans have no credits, no trade goods, only themselves." The words hit her like a knife. She lowered her gaze. Her hands trembled. She could feel her daughter's cold breath against her neck. I will work," she whispered. "I will serve." The alien laughed, a sound that made the other creatures nearby turn and smile cruelly. "You offer yourself for food? How low your kind has fallen." The mother said nothing. Shame burned in her chest, but her arms only tightened around her child. The merchant tapped the table with his claw. Slowly, he placed a small bundle of food before her. Bread, dried meat, a flask of water. It was enough to keep her daughter alive for a few days. "Take it," he said, "but you will return. Tomorrow and the next day and the next. You belong to me now. Your work, your body, your years. In exchange for crumbs. Refuse and both of you starve." The mother's heart pounded. She wanted to scream, to fight, to tear his smile from his face. But her daughter moved in her arms, whimpering. She reached out and took the bundle. The alien's laugh followed her as she turned away. "Run back to your child, human. Tomorrow you come back as mine." Outside the outpost, the storm had not eased. Snow stung her face as she hurried to the small shelter she had made from broken metal sheets. Inside, she laid her daughter down and tore open the food. The little girl's eyes opened weakly. When her mother pressed the bread to her lips, she began to chew slowly, tears freezing on her cheeks. The mother watched, her own stomach screaming with hunger. She ate nothing, only smiled with trembling lips. "You'll be warm soon. You'll be safe," she whispered, though her voice broke on the words. But in her heart, fear grew. She had made a deal with the monster, and monsters never stopped at one payment. That night, as the storm howled outside, the mother sat awake, holding her daughter close. The child's breathing grew stronger, steadier, but the mother's eyes were fixed on the alien outpost's glow in the distance. She had bought her daughter one night of life. Tomorrow she would pay the price. The next morning, the storm had grown weaker, but the cold was still sharp as knives. The little girl slept with a fuller stomach, her face less pale than the night before. The mother watched her with quiet relief, but she knew the truth. This peace would not last. The food was almost gone. And the merchant was waiting. She brushed the child's hair gently. "Stay inside, little star. Mama will return soon," she whispered. The girl stirred, blinking up at her. "Mama, don't go!" The mother forced a smile. "I must, I promised." The words tasted bitter, but she could not show weakness. She wrapped the old blanket tighter around her daughter and stepped outside, walking once more toward the alien outpost. The outpost was alive with noise. Voices of many species echoed through the air, barking, hissing, humming. The smell of cooked food mixed with the stench of oil and smoke. When the humans had first come to this world, they had believed it would be theirs. Now they were only shadows in the alleys, ghosts that the aliens barely noticed except when they begged. The mother moved carefully. She could feel the stairs again. To them she was nothing but a human female, desperate, broken. The merchant was waiting in the same place. His black eyes glistened as if he had been expecting her. "You came back," he said with a grin that showed sharp teeth. "Good, humans sometimes run, but not you." She kept her head down. "I came to serve. For food." The merchant leaned back in his chair. "Tell me, little human, how much is your daughter worth to you?" The question made her throat dry. She wanted to shout everything, but she knew he wanted to hear it in a way that gave him power. "She is my life," the mother whispered. The alien's smile widened. "Then your life is mine. You will work in my mines. You will clean my quarters. And if I demand more, you will give it. In return each day a little food for your child." Her hands shook at her sides, but she nodded. "Yes." The merchant clapped once, and 2 guards appeared. They were large, armored, their skin shining like stone. They grabbed her arms roughly. "You begin now," the merchant said, sliding another bundle of food onto the table. "Take it to your spawn, then return." The guard shoved her forward, but she stopped. Her eyes locked on the food. "Please, let me carry it to her first. She is still weak." The merchant narrowed his eyes, studying her. For a moment she thought he would refuse, but then with a cruel laugh he waved his hand. "Go. But remember, if you do not return, I will find her, and she will pay your debt." Her heart froze in her chest. She grabbed the food and ran back through the snow. Inside the shelter, her daughter's eyes lit up at the sight of bread and water. She ate quickly, smiling faintly. "Mama, you found more?" "Yes," the mother whispered, stroking her hair. "There will always be more. I promise." But inside she felt her promise turning to ashes. She kissed her daughter's forehead, then stood. The girl's small hand clung to her sleeve. "Don't leave me." The mother knelt, forcing her voice to stay calm. "I must go, but only for a little while. I will come back always. Be strong, little star. Be strong for me." Tears slid down the girl's cheeks, but she nodded. The mother turned and walked out before her own tears could fall. Back in the outpost, the guards dragged her through steel gates down into the ground. The air grew hotter, thicker, filled with smoke and the sound of clanging metal. The mines. Humans were everywhere inside, thin, tired, covered in dust. Some carried heavy stones. Others pushed carts. None looked up. Their eyes were empty. The guards shoved her into the crowd. A whip cracked across the ground. "Work," one barked. She bent down, lifting a heavy rock. Pain shot through her back, but she did not stop. Every move she made, every drop of sweat, she told herself the same thing. This is for her. Hours passed. The heat made her dizzy. Her arms ached until they felt like breaking, but she did not stop. When she finally stumbled, a voice hissed behind her. "You will break soon if you fight alone." She turned. An older man, his face gray with dust, stood nearby. His eyes, though tired, still held fire. "You're new," he said. "Another who traded freedom for crumbs?" She did not answer. He gave a bitter smile. "They never stop. The food will get smaller, the work heavier. One day they will take your child too." The mother's chest tightened. "No, I will not let them." The man's smile faded. "That is what all of us said." Before she could reply, the guard's shouts echoed again. Work resumed. The conversation ended, but the man's words stayed inside her mind like a thorn. When the shift ended, the guards chained the workers in rows. The mother's wrists burned under the cuffs. Above them, the alien merchant appeared, his black eyes shining. "Look at you humans," he said loudly. his voice full of mockery. Once you thought you ruled the stars. Now you beg for scraps. You are nothing. Nothing but dust under our feet. Some humans lowered their heads. Others clenched their fists but said nothing. The mother lifted her face, her eyes burning with silent fire. She would bow for now. She would suffer for now. But inside, a seed of anger was growing. And when anger grows, it can become something far greater. The mother's arms trembled as she carried stones through the tunnels. The air was heavy with smoke, and every breath scraped her lungs like sand. The sound of pickaxes and chains filled the darkness. It was a rhythm of misery, a song of suffering that never ended. Her body ached, but she forced herself to move. She thought of her daughter's face, her smile when she ate the bread. That image kept her alive. Every night after the long hours in the mines, the guards would march the workers out, chain them together, and throw them back into the holding pens. She was only released because she had begged for one condition. She must return to her child. The merchant allowed it, not out of mercy, but amusement. Let her see her little human spawn, he had laughed. It will remind her why she comes back to me. And so each night she stumbled home, her body broken, but her arms full of crumbs of food. Her daughter always ran to her when she entered the shelter. Even in her weakness, the child's eyes lit up at the sight of her mother. Mama, you came back. The mother would kneel, hold her close, and smile through her pain. Of course, little star. I always will. She gave her the food even when her own stomach screamed. She drank only water, saving every bite for her daughter. But the girl was sharp. She watched her mother's face, the lines of exhaustion, the bruises on her arms. Mama, she whispered one night. Why do you hurt yourself? The mother kissed her forehead. Because love is stronger than pain. The girl's eyes filled with tears, but she said no more. Days turned to weeks. The work grew harder. The food became smaller. The merchant's promises shrank like shadows at sunset. You work more, you get less, the older man in the mines muttered beside her one day. His voice was bitter, but there was pity in his eyes. That is their way, the mother said nothing. She had no strength for words, but her heart burned quietly. The girl grew curious. One evening, when her mother left for the outpost, she followed, hiding among the broken ruins. She watched her mother walk into the alien stronghold. The girl's small hands clenched when she saw the guards push her mother toward the gates, dragging her into the ground. The girl's chest tightened. She wanted to run, to shout, but she stayed hidden. Hours later, she saw her mother return, limping, covered in dust, her hands bleeding. The girl bit her lip until it bled, silent tears rolling down her cheeks. That night, as her mother slept, the girl sat awake, staring. She realized the truth. Her mother was giving everything for her. Every breath, every drop of strength. The thought crushed her heart. She wanted to help, but how could a child fight against monsters? The next day, the girl made a choice. She slipped out of the shelter and followed again, closer this time. She crept behind shadows, watching the guards and workers. She saw the mines. She saw the chains. She saw the whip crack against her mother's back. Her small cry almost escaped. But she pressed her hand against her mouth. If she was caught, both of them would be punished. But in that moment, she understood something. Her mother was suffering in silence. All for her, and silence, she realized, was dangerous. Inside the mines, the older man whispered again to the mother, "You can't keep this up. They will take her next." That's what they do. First they break the mother, then they take the child. The mother's chest froze at his words. "No," she said softly. "They will never touch her." The man's eyes met hers. "Then you must be ready." Before she could answer, the guard shouted again. Work resumed. That night, when she returned, her daughter clung to her tightly, her small arms wrapped around her neck. "Mama," the girl whispered, her voice trembling. "I saw them. I saw what they do to you." The mother stiffened, pulling back to look into her daughter's eyes. "You followed me?" The girl nodded, tears spilling. "I'm sorry, I couldn't let you be alone." The mother's heart cracked. She pulled the child close, rocking her gently. "You must never do that again," she whispered fiercely. "It is too dangerous. Promise me." The girl sobbed but whispered back, "I promise." But inside, the girl knew her promise was weak. She could not watch her mother break every day. Something had to change. That night, as the storm raged outside, the mother sat awake. her daughter asleep in her lap. She thought of the merchant's laugh. She thought of the guard's cruelty. She thought of the endless weight of stones in her arms. Her silence had kept her alive, but it would not keep her daughter safe. For the first time, she let herself imagine fighting back. It was a dangerous thought, a forbidden thought, but once born, it refused to die. The girl stirred in her sleep, whispering softly, "Mama, don't leave me." The mother kissed her hair, tears burning her eyes. "I will never leave you, little star," she whispered, "but one day soon, I will stop bowing. For you." And in that vow, a spark was lit. It was small, hidden, silent, but even the smallest spark can burn a forest. The storm outside had finally broken. For once, the sky above the frozen colony was clear. Stars shone like tiny fires in the dark. The mother left for the outpost again, her shoulders heavy, her eyes empty with exhaustion. The little girl sat inside the shelter, staring at the door long after her mother had gone. She hugged the blanket close, but the warmth did not comfort her. She had promised to stay, to wait. But her promise felt like chains. Her mother was breaking herself apart night after night, and the girl could not pretend anymore. She whispered to herself, "If Mama gives everything for me, then I must give something for her." Quietly, she slipped from the shelter and followed. The outpost loomed ahead like a monster's mouth, glowing with strange alien lights. She hid behind broken walls, keeping low. The guards were everywhere, tall and armed, but she was small, fast, and careful. Through the gates, she crept closer, her heart beating so loud she thought it would give her away. She stayed in the shadows, moving where the lights were weakest. Then she saw it. The mines. Her eyes widened as she looked down into the pit. Humans bent under heavy loads, their chains clinking. Whips cracked across their backs. Sparks of fire from machines lit the tunnels like lightning. And there, among the broken workers, was her mother. The girl's chest tightened. Her mother's back was bent. Her hands bled from the stones she carried. Dust covered her face, but her eyes still burned, fierce and unbroken. The girl's small hands curled into fists. She wanted to scream, to run to her, to fight the guards. But she bit her lip until it bled, forcing herself silent. Hours crawled by. The girl watched, hidden in the shadows. She saw the guards shove her mother to the ground. She saw the whip lash across her skin. The pain made her mother stumble, but she did not cry out. She rose, lifted the stone again, and kept working. The girl's heart broke. She pressed her hand over her mouth to muffle her sobs. Her mother was suffering for her. And if the guards discovered her now, both of them would be punished. Still, she could not leave. Later, the work stopped. The humans were chained together in rows, their heads bowed. The alien merchant appeared above them, his black eyes shining with cruel joy. "You are mine," he said loudly. "Every drop of sweat, every broken bone, it belongs to me. Do not forget it. You exist only because I allow it." The girl trembled with rage. Her small body shook, her teeth clenched. She wanted to leap from her hiding place, to claw at him, to scream that he was wrong. But she stayed silent. Her mother looked up at that moment. Just for a heartbeat, their eyes met across the distance. The girl froze. Did her mother see her? The woman's eyes widened slightly, then softened. For a second, her exhaustion vanished, replaced by fear. Not for herself, but for the child she saw hiding in the shadows. The mother quickly looked away, masking her reaction before the guards noticed. The girl's heart pounded. She had been seen. That night, when the mother returned to the shelter, her daughter ran into her arms before she could speak. The girl held her tightly, crying into her chest. The mother stroked her hair gently, though her own body was shaking with pain. "You followed me," she whispered. The girl sobbed harder. "I'm sorry, Mama. I couldn't stay. I saw what they do to you. I saw it all." The mother's chest tightened. She pulled her back, holding her face between her hands. "You must never do that again. Do you hear me? Never. But I can't just sit here while they hurt you," the girl cried. "I want to help." Tears burned in the mother's eyes. She wanted to tell her child the truth, that no help could come from a child against monsters. But when she looked at her daughter's trembling face, she stopped. Instead, she whispered, "You already help me. Every time I see your face, every time you smile, I remember why I fight. That is enough." The girl sniffled, but her eyes were stubborn. "It's not enough for me." That night, as the girl slept curled against her, the mother sat awake. Her mind was heavy with fear. If her daughter followed her again, the aliens would notice. They would not be merciful. She had thought her silence and suffering could protect her child, but now she realized her daughter was no longer blind. She had seen the truth, and once seen, truth could not be hidden again. The mother closed her eyes. Holding her daughter tighter, she had to find another way. The next day in the mines, the older man spoke again. "Your daughter," he muttered, keeping his voice low. "She was here last night, wasn't she?" The mother's breath caught. "How do you know?" "I saw her eyes in the shadows. Brave girl, but dangerous. If the guards had noticed." He shook his head. The mother's chest ached. She bent under the weight of another stone, whispering to herself, "I will not let them touch her." Never. The man's gaze was sharp. "Then be ready. The day will come when silence will not save you." His words haunted her all through the long hours. That night, when she returned home, her daughter asked softly, "Mama, will they take me one day too?" The question struck like a blade. The mother froze, then pulled her child into her arms. "No," she whispered fiercely. "They will never take you. I will give them my last breath before I let them touch you." The girl nodded, but her eyes stayed troubled, and in that silent moment, both of them knew the truth. Survival was no longer enough. Soon, a choice would have to be made. The mines grew darker the deeper they went. The tunnels twisted like the veins of some dying beast, lit only by weak lamps nailed to the rock. Dust floated in the air, choking every breath. The mother bent under the weight of stone once again, her arms trembling. Sweat mixed with blood on her hands. She no longer felt her body, it moved like a machine. One thought alone kept her alive. "My daughter must eat, my daughter must live." The guards shouted, whips cracking across backs. Chains rattled as humans stumbled forward. Most had dead eyes, their spirits long broken, but the mother's eyes still burned even through exhaustion. She carried her suffering silently, but inside her chest something fierce refused to die, and someone was watching. The alien scientist was unlike the others. His skin was pale blue, marked with faint silver lines like circuits. His eyes were calm, thoughtful, not cruel like the merchants. He stood apart, always observing, never shouting. When the guards weren't looking, his gaze followed the mother. He noticed the way she moved, broken but unyielding. He noticed the fire in her eyes that the others had lost. Most humans gave up long before this point. But not her. That intrigued him. One evening after the shift ended, the humans were chained together as usual. The merchant laughed at them, mocking their weakness. The guards barked orders. But when the crowd thinned, the scientist stepped quietly toward the mother. She stiffened. Any alien coming close meant danger, but his voice was low, almost gentle. "You endure more than the others, why?" The mother looked at him sharply, suspicious. Her lips were cracked, her throat dry, but she answered in a whisper. "For her. For my child." The scientist tilted his head. "You sacrifice everything, yet still you stand. Most humans bow and break. You burn." His words unsettled her. She did not know if it was mockery or something else. "Fire is useless," she muttered. "It gives no food. It gives no safety." "Not always," the scientist said softly, "but fire can spread." Before she could reply, a guard shouted and he stepped back, vanishing into the shadows. The mother frowned. His words echoed in her head long after. That night she returned to the shelter as broken as before. Her daughter rushed to her arms, smiling weakly. She gave her the food and water, saving nothing for herself. "Mama," the girl whispered, noticing her bruises again. "You look worse every day. Why do you keep going?" The mother kissed her forehead, whispering back, "Because you are my spark. As long as you breathe, I will not stop." The girl's eyes filled with tears, but this time she didn't argue. She only held her tighter. Days passed. The scientist appeared more often, always at a distance, always watching. Until one night, when the guards were distracted, he came close again. In his hand was a small object, smooth, silver, glowing faintly with strange lines. The mother recoiled. "What is this?" The scientist lowered his voice. "An artifact. From your people, long ago, before the fall. The aliens keep them hidden, afraid of what they mean. But I study history. I know this much: it was built by humans. And it will only answer to human hands." Her heart pounded. "Why give it to me?" He studied her with steady eyes. "Because you still burn. And perhaps You will show the galaxy why humans were once feared. Her hands trembled as she took the artifact. It was cold at first, then warm, as if alive. The glowing lines pulsed brighter under her touch. She gasped. The scientist's lips curved into a thin smile. Yes, it recognizes you. Before she could ask more, he stepped back into the shadows. Keep it hidden. If the merchant finds out, you and your child will not live another day. And then he was gone. That night in the shelter, the mother unwrapped the artifact under the faint light of a broken lamp. Her daughter's eyes widened in wonder. What is it, Mama? The mother shook her head slowly. I don't know. But it belongs to us, to humans. The girl reached out, touching it gently. The artifact glowed brighter, humming softly, almost like a heartbeat. The mother's chest tightened. She didn't understand it, but she felt something deep inside. Hope. For the first time in years, she felt more than fear. The next day in the mines, the merchant grew crueler. He ordered heavier loads, less food. When a man collapsed, the guards beat him until he stopped moving. The humans bowed their heads in silence. No one dared speak, but the mother's hand brushed against the artifact hidden under her ragged clothes, and she felt its warmth pulse against her skin. It was like a secret flame. The older man beside her noticed her strange calm. He whispered, "What are you hiding?" She shook her head quickly. Nothing, but he narrowed his eyes. That evening, as she left the mines, the merchant stopped her. His black eyes gleamed. You think you are strong, human? You are nothing. Tomorrow I will take more from you. Perhaps even your child. Her heart froze, but her face stayed still. She bowed her head, saying nothing. The merchant smirked, satisfied, and walked away. But inside she whispered to herself, "Touch her, and I will burn this whole place to ash." Her hand pressed against the artifact. She could feel it hum as if it agreed. That night, when her daughter asked softly, "Mama, will we always be slaves?" the mother looked into her eyes and answered differently than before. "No," she said firmly. "One day soon we will rise." The girl blinked, surprised at the strength in her voice. For the first time, she believed it, and so the spark grew. A hidden flame carried in silence a mother's vow, a daughter's hope, and an artifact waiting to be awakened. The alien merchant's words haunted her through the night. "Tomorrow I will take more from you, perhaps even your child." The mother lay awake in the shelter, her daughter asleep beside her. She held the artifact close, hidden under the blanket. Its faint glow pulsed softly like a heart beating in the dark. Her chest tightened. If the merchant truly tried to claim her daughter, what could she do? She was only one human, weak and broken, but the artifact whispered another truth. She didn't know how, but she felt it waiting, like a blade still in its sheath, sharp and dangerous. For the first time, she wanted to believe. The next day, the mines shook with cruelty. The merchant arrived earlier than usual, his black eyes gleaming with hunger for power. Guards barked orders, forcing the humans to carry heavier stones, to work faster than their bodies could bear. Whips cracked. Chains rattled. Cries echoed. The mother staggered under the weight of a stone twice her size. She stumbled, nearly falling, but forced herself up again. The thought of her daughter kept her on her feet. Then suddenly she heard a scream. Her blood froze. She dropped the stone and spun around. At the entrance to the mines, two guards dragged a small figure forward. Her daughter. The girl kicked and fought, but she was too small. The guards laughed, hauling her like a caught animal. The merchant followed behind, his cruel smile stretching across his face. "You lied to me, human," he hissed, his voice loud enough for all to hear. "You thought you could keep the child hidden, but nothing you own is yours. Even your spawn belongs to me now." The mother's heart pounded so hard it felt like it would break her ribs. She ran forward, but a guard's whip lashed across her back, sending her crashing to the ground. Her daughter cried out, reaching toward her. "Mama!" The mother crawled, pain tearing through her body, her fingers digging into the dirt. She could not let them take her. She would not. The merchant stepped closer, grabbing the child by the chin. His black eyes gleamed. "Strong spirit, this one. Perhaps I will sell her. Or perhaps I will keep her myself." The mother's vision blurred with rage. Something inside her snapped. Her hand tore at her clothes, pulling the hidden artifact free. The object pulsed bright in her hand, humming like thunder waiting to strike. The guards froze. The merchant's smile faltered. The artifact's glow spread across the chamber, washing over the humans chained in the dark. For a heartbeat, everything was silent. Then the hum turned into a roar. The artifact came alive. Lines of light crawled across its surface, expanding, reshaping. Energy surged into her arm, flowing through her body like fire. She gasped as strength she never knew filled her veins. The merchant hissed, stepping back. That is forbidden." The mother rose slowly to her feet, the artifact glowing brighter with every heartbeat. Her pain, her weakness, her chains, they all fell away. She looked at the guards with eyes that no longer feared, and the artifact responded. With a flash, energy exploded outward. The whip one guard raised turned to ash in his hand. Another guard staggered back as the ground cracked beneath him. The humans gasped. The girl's eyes widened with awe. The mother's voice shook the air, louder than the whips, stronger than the chains. "You will never touch her again." Chaos erupted. The guards rushed forward, but every strike failed. The artifact shielded her, pulsing brighter with each attack. A wave of energy threw them aside like leaves in the storm. The merchant snarled, his black eyes furious. "You don't know what you hold. It will consume you." But she did not listen. The artifact was not consuming her. It was answering her. For every scar on her back, for every bruise on her hands, for every tear her daughter cried, it answered. The older man in the mines shouted above the noise, his eyes wide with fire. "She has awakened it." "The old power." The chained humans stirred, hope sparking in their broken eyes. The merchant screamed orders. More guards poured in, weapons raised. The air filled with the hiss of energy blades, the crack of alien rifles. The mother raised the artifact high. Light burst from it, striking the weapons, shattering them into dust. The guards fell back in terror. Her daughter broke free, running into her arms. The mother lifted her high, holding her close. "No one will take you," she whispered fiercely. "Never again." The artifact's glow wrapped around them both, warm and alive, as if protecting them. But the fight was not over. The merchant roared, his body shifting, growing larger, darker. His skin rippled like oil, his arms stretching with claws. He was no simple merchant, he was something far more dangerous. "You think you can rise?" he bellowed. "I will crush you. I will crush all your kind again, just as we did before." The humans cowered. The guards cheered, but the mother stood tall, her child safe in her arms, the artifact blazing like a star in her hand. Her voice cut through the chaos. "Then try." The artifact flared brighter than ever, lighting the dark tunnels like a rising sun. And for the first time in years, the humans saw not despair, but power. The reckoning had begun. The mines shook with the force of the artifact's light. Dust rained from the ceilings, chains rattled, and every eye turned toward the mother who now stood at the center, glowing like a fire in the darkness. The alien merchant's body twisted into its monstrous form, towering, claws gleaming, black eyes burning with rage. His voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. "You dare raise your hand against me, human? You think your fire can challenge the galaxy? You are dust. You are broken." The mother clutched her daughter close, her other hand gripping the artifact that pulsed with power. Her voice rose steady and strong. "No, I am not broken. I am human, and we do not bow." The merchant roared, charging forward, his claws slicing through the air. Guards screamed orders and rushed in, weapons blazing. Energy bolts cut through the dark, but the artifact blazed brighter, forming a shield of light around the mother and child. Every strike failed, every weapon shattered. The humans in chains gasped, hope sparking in their hollow eyes. For so long they had been silent. For so long they had believed themselves nothing. Now they saw one of their own stand tall against the monster who had crushed them. The older man shouted with all his strength, his voice carrying through the cavern. "Rise, humans! Rise while the fire burns." The chains rattled as men and women began to pull, to fight, to tear at their bonds. Whips cracked against them, but this time they did not bow their heads. The mother moved forward, her daughter safe behind her, the artifact glowing like a star in her hand. The merchant swung his massive claw, striking with enough force to crush stone. But the artifact flared, catching the blow and throwing him back with a thunderous crack. The walls shook. Rocks fell, the merchant hissed, rage twisting his face. "This power is not yours. It belongs to us. Humans were made to kneel." The mother's eyes blazed. "Then you should have killed us all. Because as long as even one of us stands, humanity will never kneel." The artifact answered her words with a pulse of energy that blasted the guards from their feet. Their weapons turned to dust, their armor split. Panic filled their alien eyes. The humans broke free, seizing the fallen weapons. They fought back for the first time in years. Chains became whips. Stones became hammers. Their cries filled the cavern. No more chains. No more begging. Humanity rises. The guards fell back in fear, their numbers shrinking as the humans surged forward. The once silent slaves had become an army. The merchant staggered to his feet, roaring. His monstrous form swelled, shadows rippling around him. He tried to summon fear, to remind them of their place. But fear was gone. The mother raised the artifact high. Its light spread across the cavern, blinding, burning, filling every human heart with fire. Her daughter stood at her side now, small, but unshaken. She gripped her mother's arm, whispering, "Show them, Mama. Show them who we are." The mother's voice rang out, stronger than the roars of the alien, stronger than the cries of battle. "We are human. We suffer, but we rise. We fall, but we rise. And we will never bow again." The artifact exploded with light. The merchant screamed as the energy struck him. His monstrous body writhed, shadows burning away, his black eyes wide with disbelief. The cavern shook with the force of his fall. When the light faded, the great merchant lay broken on the ground. His claws shattered, his body cracked, his voice no longer thunder, only a whisper. "You should have stayed silent." The mother stepped closer, her daughter at her side, her eyes cold and steady. Silence is death, fire is life. With a final pulse, the artifact's light consumed him. His body turned to ash, scattered in the wind of its power. The monster was gone. Silence fell. The humans stared, breathless, then a cheer erupted. Loud, fierce, unstoppable. Chains rattled as they tore them free, raising their hands high. "We are free. Humans rise!" The mother stood among them, her daughter's small hand gripping hers tightly. She looked around at the faces, scarred, broken, but alive with hope once more. The older man approached, his voice trembling. You lit the spark. You reminded us who we are." The mother shook her head softly. "No, it was never gone. It was waiting. We only needed to remember." Her daughter looked up at her, eyes shining. "Mama, does this mean we can go home now?" The mother's heart ached. Home was gone, long turned to ruins, but she knelt and kissed her daughter's forehead. "No, little star. It means we will build a new one. A stronger one. A human one." Far above, in the alien outpost, alarms rang. Other rulers would come soon. The galaxy would not ignore this rebellion, but the mother no longer feared them. She had seen her people rise. She had felt the artifact answer her call, and she knew one truth. The galaxy had forgotten why it once feared humanity. But now, it would remember. The mother lifted the artifact high one last time. Its glow spread across the broken colony, shining into the night sky. A beacon, a warning. A promise humanity would not bow. Not here, not ever again.